Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline at Pixie Dots PhD. I am filming on December 11th, 2022, so this is the month 34 creator update. Between the last monthly creator update video in November and today, there has just been so much Disney news. It's kind of incomprehensible how much has shifted. So we're going to do some rapid fire news recap. It won't have a lot of nuance to the discussion, I'm not going to lie, but I'm interested to hear your opinions as well. And then, of course, we'll go over the stats and analytics for this month, as well as lifetime of the channel, and look a little bit ahead into the channel's future. Stay tuned. The constant stream of news this month was pretty overwhelming, so let's go ahead and get to it. Like I said, we're going to do pretty rapid fire. We're not going to talk about a ton of details or give most of these topics the nuance that they deserve, but I don't want this video to be an hour, so let's get into it. Obviously, first and foremost, Bob Chapek is out. Bob Iger is back in as CEO. My first and primary thought, and really the only one that probably deserves airtime, is I'm really happy for the boosted morale for the current cast members. I think that's what counts the most. I believe Iger is on a 2-year contract, so part of this will also be identifying his successor, so there's been a lot of chatter there. Josh D'Amaro is head of parks, and I tend to keep my opinions about these things to myself because I think there's so much going on behind the scenes at high-level meetings with these individuals that we're not privy to, and we definitely don't have the data and numbers that they have access to, or even just the internal advice coming from other people in the company, particularly any economists that may be hired. But yeah, the vocal sect of the Disney Parks fan base is generally pretty pro Josh D'Amaro. I think people like him. He definitely has the politician-y vibe, not in the gross politician way, but in that, he has the charisma, he can speak well, he can interact well with people. I think he has done well sort of morphing himself to whichever leader is on top, whether that was Iger before or Chapek most recently, or, he'll probably remorph himself to the Iger style soon. He plays the game well, basically. But I've always found it interesting that whenever things are going poorly in parks, which has happened the past little bit of time here, people have been blaming Chapek and not necessarily D'Amaro, but D'Amaro is head of parks. And again, we can't know exactly how it works within the corporation, and even, individual CEOs will have their different styles, but certainly overall, very generally speaking, the CEO shouldn't have the control over day-to-day park stuff that D'Amaro may have more influence over. In general, with my experience with boards at least, it should be that the head of parks would pitch ideas to the CEO, and the CEO should basically back their person up to the board, unless it's, a terrible idea. So there's been all this stuff happening with parks, and people have been blaming Chapek and saying, oh, well, D'Amaro is not being able to do what he wants to do under the direction of Chapek. Maybe Chapek's having a heavy hand. I don't think we can know that. I really think it's a lot of speculation. I am very interested to see in the next, 6 to 12 months, if parks changes are happening and if we're seeing D'Amaro implement more good things, or good in our opinion as Disney Parks fans, and if that would signal that he really was being held back by Chapek or not. I think that's still to be determined. But certainly some people are also lining up D'Amaro as next in line to succeed Iger. Again, we'll see. Another big rumor that's been floating around more recently, I think just in the past week or two, not right when the CEO news dropped, is that the CFO, Christine McCarthy, is maybe in line to take over for Iger. I don't really know anything about her other than she had this very insensitive waistlines comment earlier in the year or last year. I don't know. Anyway, she, from that small interaction that she had with the public, seems more on the Chapek side of maybe not being the most charismatic or the best speaker. A lot of people, at least on Diz Twitter, were like, why doesn't the PR department write these people talking points? And as a person that does write talking points for board chairmen and CEOs, etc., you can write them talking points, but they tend to want to insert a little bit of their own personality into things, which is totally fine. But, some people are better at doing that than others. I did just want to raise this conversation about CFO Christine McCarthy, though, because a lot of the Disney news outlets are reporting that oh, she's a top contender. And it's very silly to me because if you look at the actual quote from the real article, which, by the way, some of these Disney news outlets don't even quote to the real article or link out to it, which is highly suspicious if you ask me. So, pick and choose who you support in terms of getting your Disney news. But anyway, the actual quote came from a Disney insider. And it says, Christine has always been a force to be reckoned with, but you have to put her on a list of top 5 possibilities after the last few weeks. adding the CFO to a list of top 5 possibilities is not at all a signal to me that you've actually made a short list. Like a top 5 is not a short list. A short list is like top 2 or 3. So of course the current CFO is going to be in that conversation. I think people are really jumping to conclusions that it's definitely going to be her. Iger has some time to figure out what he wants to do. And again, like at least from what the very little we've seen of Christine McCarthy in the public sphere, is that she is maybe not the best communicator. And they just got through this period with JPEG, ousted him for various reasons, but I'm sure that was one of them. And so would you want to return to a person like that? And maybe she would be great. And certainly if she is actually on the short list, you know, Iger could spend more time with her. She could do some shadowing. She could do some training and improved communications, those kinds of things. And it would be neat to have a woman CEO for the first time. But like, I don't know, just the Disney news outlets have been reporting this as if she is the number one choice. And if you read the actual quote, that's just like not what's coming through. Just two other quick things about this news item. We don't necessarily know publicly what the board is going to push Iger to focus on. I just highly suspect it won't necessarily be the Disney parks. I think Disney Plus is going to be a big one, and obviously he needs to fix revenue streams, and parks plays into that, but it's not the main thing. So I know a lot of us Disney Parks fans have like a laundry list of things that we want to see addressed. And I just want to say is, you know, point 2 in this little tangent, that if I'm right and if parks aren't necessarily the focus for Iger, changes may be coming, but I think they will take some time. Like I absolutely can imagine a Genie Plus retooling. I don't think it's going away, but I think they could make it improved. But it's not going to happen super fast. So this is definitely, once again, a pack your patience situation. I will be interested to see if they rework ticket pricing at all. So they have been on dynamic pricing for a while. It was recently announced that this past week, I think it was December 8th, they implemented even like more dynamic pricing. So for one day, one park tickets, I believe, like Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios are now the most expensive. Magic Kingdom can be even more expensive than Hollywood Studios, is my understanding. And Animal Kingdom is like the least expensive. And this was for one day tickets. Presumably, if you add the park hopper option, that will also like be dynamic for the one day tickets. I know a lot of people were upset about this. I think Magic Kingdom topped out at almost $200 a day on, you know, your very, very busy days. And I understand why people are upset. I just personally am not surprised. I think dynamic pricing is very normal in a lot of entertainment industries, and especially like I'm a big sports fan, so that's how a lot of, you know, baseball games work. For example, is if you go to a Monday 12:05 game, it's going to be much cheaper than if you're going to a Saturday 7:05 game against a very popular team or rival or whatever. I also personally wasn't super fazed by this news because I think one day tickets have always kind of been a huge ripoff and they're just super overpriced. And now they are more overpriced. But I mean, when you factor in that they tend to raise ticket prices a couple times a year, if you look at the ticket price raises for multi-day tickets, it really wasn't that unusual. I am starting to see, though, an increased amount of confusion and like overwhelmedness and like it's too much to care and put up with from my friends on the fringes that are like mildly interested in Disney World, but definitely are not like Disney people. Some of these people are adults that just want to have an easy, fun vacation. More of my friends in that category have young children and want to take their family to Walt Disney World for the first time, and like maybe the only time ever, if not for the next, 9 to 10 years. And while they're used to dynamic pricing, I think the degree with which things are dynamic price, so it's like tickets and now Genie Plus and blah, 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 is making it harder to budget, and I can sympathize with that. I will say I haven't looked at the dynamic pricing that closely because it really hasn't affected my future plans. And I also just am at a place of financial privilege and social privilege where like, yeah, if Genie Plus is $20 one day and 29 the next day, but I still want it, like I can pay for the $9 upcharge and I'm not really going to think twice about it. But one of my friends is putting together a pretty tight budget and asked like, okay, so if it's a Tuesday in September, is it going to be a different price from a Thursday in September, like during the same week? And like, I don't know the answer. And I can understand why that would cause some strife. There's plenty of other parks things I think need attention, but I definitely think a retooling of Genie Plus could be coming down the line, and maybe just like a simplification of some of the dynamic pricing. For example, the way Disney Vacation Club works is like you have a points rate for week nights that's cheaper than weekend nights. And I could totally understand that moving to a model like that where like within one given week there's like 2 different prices instead of I don't even know how many there could be now. Let me know what you think about the CEO change-up. Do you have any desires for the near future, wishes, predictions? I'm interested in it all. Speaking of Genie Plus, a big piece of news that dropped was that you can now make modifications to your Genie Plus reservations instead of having to cancel and then fully rebook. I haven't obviously tried this out, but that is a huge quality of life improvement, and I'm so glad it's here. Hopefully it's working well for people. Next, over on the Disney Parks blog, they announced that Walt Disney World's version of Splash Mountain's last day operating will be January 22nd. As of January 23rd, it will be closed and being rethemed into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That's anticipated to open in 2024 at both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. I don't think we've seen a Splash Mountain closing date at Disneyland yet. I'm really excited for the retheme, but heads up if you are going to be in Disney World, those last few days of Splash Mountain being open, things might get a little hectic. Over at Disneyland Paris, they announced some massive menu price increases. So some quick service places did get hit with, €1 changes or somewhat minor changes. I think the big news to me was some of the sit-down restaurants. I apologize for my pronunciation as always, but Auberge went from €79 to €95. I'm pretty sure this is the princess sit-down meal, so it is a character meal if I'm right. And when I was looking at my Disneyland Paris trip, I thought about it, but I looked at the menu and even at €79. I was like, that's too much. Like, it's not worth it. And now it's €95. So yeah, that's just in pure price. That one's quite pricey. And then Waltz and Chez Remy previously were €42 per person. So when we went to Chez Remy, it was €42 and I felt like that was worth it. They're now €55 per person. And now €55 is not €95. So, pure price wise, you could still consider that somewhat reasonable. But the percent increase from 42 to 55 is it's like over 30% that they just implemented basically overnight, is my understanding. So that was pretty rough. If you're planning a Disneyland Paris trip and you previously looked at prices, take a look again. You may want to adjust your plans, or at the very least, adjust your budget. Moving on, let's do some Disney Vacation Club news. The DVC Club condo meeting occurred on December 8th. This was in person at Bay Lake Tower. Thanks so much to DVC News for reporting out on this diligently. They were live tweeting, and there's also a wrap-up article on their website that I will link to in the description below. In my opinion, there was nothing super major really, which is kind of to be expected of these condo meetings. They're legally required to have them. They're not required to give us any juicy drops. There was mention of the Disneyland Hotel DVC Tower as well as the new Polynesian Tower, but no additional details were shared, so still waiting to hear more about those. We did get confirmation that Boardwalk is getting its full refurb in 2023, so I personally am stoked in that. When we stayed in that room in 2021, it needed some love. Like it had been well used. And yeah, it's ready for that. Beach Club is getting its light refresh or soft goods refurb in 2023 as well. I'm hoping they add just a little bit more charm to those rooms. They're totally fine. They're just not like that interesting. They also slated Bay Lake Tower for getting its full refurb in 2024. I'm excited for that. And we didn't see anything past that though into 2024. In other DVC news, the 2024 points charts are out. I haven't done a really in-depth look, but I, glanced at the Bay Lake Tower one and it seemed pretty fine to me. So unlike the past couple years where there have been some pretty major changes, I think we're finally settled into this sort of cadence of the points charts. I'm probably going to take a closer look at points charts and maybe make a video about it. But if there's not a ton to say, I'm not going to waste your time, basically. If you are looking at a 2024 trip, though, points charts are out. Go ahead and take a gander. And perhaps the biggest Disney Vacation Club news, which does have other implications, potentially, is that they were offering a 30% discount on the points price to the Galactic Star Cruiser to full DVC members who qualify for perks. I didn't look too deeply into this because 1, I don't qualify, 2, I'm not that interested in Galactic Star Cruiser, and 3, if I were interested in Galactic Star Cruiser, we don't have enough points anyway, so we'd have to pay cash. But when Galactic Star Cruiser was first announced, and it was announced that you could convert points like you can for Disney Cruise Line, I did look into that and it was totally a ripoff. And I'm guessing even with a 30% discount, it's still not a good value of your points. My brain kind of went 2 directions in this. So first, it was very interesting to me that they're testing any kind of discount at Galactic Star Cruiser. And also, I think this is within 1 year of it being open. I don't think Galactic Star Cruiser has been operating with guests on board for a year. So that's pretty fast to be offering a discount. That being said, I know they don't need to be at full capacity or anything to turn a profit. So I'm not out here trying to be like, oh, Galactic Star Cruiser is a huge failure. Not that. I just think it's interesting that they're testing a discount. And if they're testing a discount with DVC, are there discounts coming to other affiliate groups? Or I know on a recent episode of Theme Park Thursday with Dills Diz, they were talking about oh, well, if you book a 5-night stay at a resort, at a Walt Disney World resort, maybe you get a discount for your 2-night Galactic Star Cruiser stay or something. I don't know. It is a signal. I think it's a soft signal, though, that they're at least looking at ways to incentivize people to come and spend the money to come to Galactic Star Cruiser. But the second direction my brain went was, this is a bad test, though, if they are trying to see if having discount incentives will help fill it up. Because if you are a DVC owner, even with a 30% discount, you would have to have a lot of points. And I think a lot of DVC owners are savvy enough to look at the conversion rate and know that it's a bad deal. And if you are a DVC owner with that many points, this is an overgeneralization for sure, but I assume that you're like fairly well off, fairly rich. So instead of get the bad conversion on your points, wouldn't you just pay the cash rate instead? And there is no discount for the cash rate. So who is biting at this offer? It doesn't seem like a good test case to me, but what do I know? If you are a Star Wars fan, though, and you're interested in the Galactic Star Cruiser, I think this space is something to keep your eye on as it evolves and as we potentially see more discounts or different types of discounts or incentives coming down the line. All right, that was all the news I wanted to touch on. I'm sure there was a lot more. If I missed anything big, please let me know in the comments down below, and I would love to hear your thoughts about any or all of this. But remember, if you are hoping for big parks changes because of a CEO switch up, I do just want to caution patience. Nothing is going to happen overnight. Or really, I'd be surprised if we see anything in the first 3 months. Let's then move into analytics. So for month 34, I pulled the stats from November 11th through December 10th. I believe there were 6 videos posted during this period. So last month's monthly creator update, we had the room tour of Hotel New York Art of Marvel. And that was like a real video. And then there was a little 15 or 19-second video of just the welcome check-in video that you get on your TV there that I wanted to share. I thought it was super cute. We did the Disney guest pet peeves chatty video with my partner and I. We have the 2023 annuals dues video for Disney Vacation Club. And then pretty recently I posted the DVC 1 single 2-bedroom villa versus 2 studios video. Top videos this month, top 2 were shorts. Always happy to see these succeed, but I still really never know what makes them successful. Then we've got the Disability Access Service Program video, 2023 annual dues, the room tour of that DoubleTree over by Universal, Disney World's ADR tips and tricks and live look-in, last month's monthly creator update, the DVC 2 beds versus 2 studios that I just posted, the chatty video with my partner and I about our Disney guest pet peeves, and then the Boardwalk Villas room tour. Topic-wise, again, a pretty good mix of Disneyland, Walt Disney World, DVC, pretty happy about that. And I posted 6 of these this month. Also, I noticed that the Tried and True PhotoPass video was not in the top 10, so I went back and checked. It wasn't in the top 10 last month, but it was during October's monthly creator update. So I think this is the first 2 months where that's been pushed out of the top 10 in a really, really long time. I'm still very happy to see the Disability Access Service Program video doing well, though. I think it's got a lot of information that hopefully will help people with their vacations. Moving along, this month we got a little bit over 7,200 views, which is not great, but it's not terrible. I did, though, notice that since January, which would have been month 23, I've really just had a bump in views where for the most part, I'm getting 6,000 or more per month. Month 27 was an exception. That was around 5,000. But otherwise, this year, 2022, has been pretty good to me. If you look before that, I generally was like, yeah, 4,000 views a month would be great. Now it's kind of like 6,000, so that's neat. This month, these views came from about 5,400 unique viewers, and 367 of you were returning. This is definitely a dip, and I would prefer to be over 400, but I understand it's a super busy time of year, so I'm thankful for those of you that did make the time to come check out the content. Like the videos, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, all those good things. I really genuinely do appreciate it. And those 7,000 or so views resulted in a little under 400 watch hours. This is a pretty bad month for me compared to recently, but you have to recall that a decent amount of those views came from shorts, and that does not result in a ton of watch hour time. This month I received a little over 60,000 impressions. Again, that's a pretty big dip from the past few months. But the impressions from YouTube did increase compared to last month. We're at 45.7%. We're still in the mid 40%, so I'm very elated about that. And watch time from those not subscribed this month was down near 71%, which is the best it's been in a while. I do find it frustrating that my months where watch time from those not subscribed is better tends to also be months where perhaps the overall watch hours is not so great. There's kind of a negative correlation in my head to those, but I'll take the win. And during this monthly period, we got 25 new subscribers to the channel. Moving to other social media, on Twitter, I'm now following 1,241 accounts and 994 are following me. This is a decrease actually compared to last month, which is a little bit frustrating. But given what's going on over at Twitter with the new ownership and all of that, I think a lot of people are just leaving Twitter. And I totally understand. I'm actually wrestling with this myself because for various reasons, I don't necessarily want to support the pockets and views of the new Twitter leadership. But also, it is just like a really good community, and I don't really necessarily want to abandon that. So I get it. I understand, and I'm going to blame my dip in the stats of, bigger things happening over on Twitter and not necessarily a me thing. On Instagram, I am following 582 accounts, and now 399 are following me. And I will say I was much better about posting this month. I think I had over 15 posts in the last monthly period. So, definitely not one a day, but I've been on Instagram a little bit more if you want to check it out. Back to YouTube, let's look at the lifetime stats. We've now eclipsed 140,000 views. We're at almost 142,000 views total lifetime on the channel, which is pretty exciting. And that has resulted in about 11,300 watch hours. So we did hit that 11,000 milestone this month, which is neat. The channel overall has about 1.6 million impressions, and the impressions from YouTube is up to 32.1%. Watch time from those not subscribed is unchanged from last month. We're still at 72.1%, and the overall number of subscribers now is 1,093. So we did not hit the 1,100 mark this month, but I'm not necessarily surprised. I was definitely braced for that. Overall, I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty bad month. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Views was down, watch hours was way down, view duration was down, impressions was super far down, number of subscribers was really far down. And even though views was down, it was still a good amount, but a lot of those were generated from a couple of shorts, and shorts, for me at least, really do not convert people into subscribers, and obviously they don't contribute much to watch hours. Impressions from YouTube was up though, and the watch time from those not subscribed was a pretty huge improvement month over month, so I'll take the little wins. But yeah, not even hitting 400 watch hours is definitely disappointing. I was super braced for this month to not be great, and the next month as well, because end of year people are just really busy and my viewership always drops. And I've talked to some other creators, they tend to say the same thing, so I don't think it's necessarily a reflection of the channel or the content I'm putting out. But yeah, I mean, it's always not fun to have a bad month. Revenue for this monthly period, it was estimated that I made about $34. This was just shy of $18 for every 1,000 ads shown and a bit over $9 for every 1,000 views. Lifetime now, I'm at an estimated of about $130. I still have nothing in my bank account. There is a delay between the YouTube stats and then what gets sent over to Google AdSense. So I checked these stats on the same day, right? So YouTube says I have $131. AdSense says I have about $120. And there's also, I think, like a 21 delay in payment. I haven't looked into the details that much because I'm not like counting on this income, so I don't really care, honestly. But yeah, I still don't have a payment. So I've, in theory, made $130 and there's $0 in my bank account still. And we're now in the 4th month of me being qualified to make money. So, 4 months in, still $0 in my bank account. Just want to put those expectations out there for other small creators. I've had several people inquire what I'm planning to do with the revenue, so here are some longer term goals. First, I want to invest in the channel. This means buying better equipment for the most part. I would like a gimbal. That way, if I'm walking around in the parks, the footage is not so shaky. I might buy a better camera. For those of you who've been watching the monthly creator updates for a while, you probably know that I don't own an actual vlogging camera. Maybe that's in my future. There's also other services that I could pay for to perhaps improve the channel and its performance. So like TubeBuddy is a very popular one. I have the free version. I don't really utilize it very much, but maybe the paid version is better. Paid Canva to help make my graphics better, and they have a lot of animated graphics that if you have the paid version you can download without a background, like with a transparent background, so you could put them in your videos, that kind of stuff. Some paid sound service like Epidemic Sound where you can get more music, so I pretty much rely mostly on the royalty-free music from YouTube, which is good, but it's, it's not the biggest variety, that's for sure. But yeah, basically things to make the videos themselves better, or my time editing and putting them together faster or more fun, something like that. I would also entertain maybe a paid version of an editing software because I do use the free version of HitFilm right now and I have complaints. I'd also like to invest in friends of the channel who are content creators themselves. This primary would look like probably joining their Patreons, but haven't really looked into the details yet because I've still gotten $0 from this venture in my bank account. And much longer term, I would like to have a charitable component to this. So it really depends on like what my revenue looks like, because I think, donating $40 or whatever is not that impactful. But if we were ever making hundreds, thousands, something like that, then yeah, I would like to pick a charity every quarter or so probably and have some percentage of my proceeds go to them. I haven't decided on a percentage yet. I don't know what it would be. This is all like so far in the future if you ask me, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Basically like take the initial profits to hopefully invest in the channel, distribute some of those funds to my creator friends, and then, you know, once we're at a more stable place, and if there's increases in revenue, set aside a chunk to donate every quarter or so. Next, let's look into the future a little bit to some month 35 content. A few days ago, there should have been the Disneyland Paris vlog for our second day in the parks get posted. That would be the first video in the monthly period. Then we've got the monthly creator update, and past that, I really don't know. There will be one more Disneyland Paris Parks vlog. I don't know if it will come out in this monthly period. I haven't started at all, so TBD. Pretty soon after we returned from Disneyland Paris, my partner and I did film a sort of recap video of highlights and lowlights. So that is filmed. It does need to be edited and whatnot, but once the final of the vlogs goes up, I should be able to post that pretty soon. Like I said earlier, I'm going to look at the 2024 points charts. There may be a video coming on that. And then following posting the Disability Access Service video, I've gotten a lot of private emails and DMs, which I understand because people don't want to disclose their stuff publicly. That's cool. But they fall into a lot of the same buckets of themes in terms of like the questions they're asking or the heart of the topic they want to know more about in detail, or some of them are also asserting things that are pretty false surrounding like HIPAA and ADA. So I'm thinking at some point, I don't know if it'll go up in month 35, but I hope to work on it soon, to make a follow-up video to the Disability Access Service video that is less like basic, here is what the program is information, and more like, here's some of the themes of your questions and let's go over those together. And then also I want to make a series of shorter videos about smaller topics for Disneyland Paris. So things like, how much French do you really need to know? Or is it helpful if you know a lot of French? How do you get to and from the parks from the airport or from Paris? Some opinion and information about their PhotoPass system, some info on characters and attractions, like hotel check-in was a little weird if you ask me. So just like shorter, hopefully, 5 to 7 minute videos about smaller topics. But I haven't scripted or filmed any of these yet. So basically, I know that you should have gotten the second Parks Day vlog a few days ago. And past that, I don't know. Happy holidays and happy new year. I am going to take a small break from uploading. It'll probably be 2 weeks. So this will probably be the last video I post in calendar year 2022. I am going to try to supplement the fact that I'm not posting real videos by posting more shorts. Traditionally, I've been posting 1 short a week. I'm going to try to increase that to, 3 or 4 maybe. Obviously, it's a very different type of content, but, trying to keep the channel a little bit alive. I did also want to note that this is month 34, so month 36 is in February. That's the 3-year anniversary of the channel. I'll probably continue the tradition of just doing an FAQ, so if you have anything you want to ask me, whether it's about the channel, Disney, anything else, leave those in the comments down below, and we'll get to it in February. I hope you're all staying safe, healthy, and well, and you can take some time to enjoy the holiday season. Actually, the day this is getting posted, I will be off on a short trip with a friend who I haven't seen in a bit, so very excited to take some time to relax after what has been a very, very hectic quarter 4 for me at work. I hope you've enjoyed the World Cup, even if it hasn't gone the way you wanted it to necessarily. And for any other Pokemon people out there, as of today, December 11th, I put in about 75 hours into the game, so I'm definitely into the post game. My Pokedex is almost complete. That's, I think, my main goal here, so I can get the Shiny Charm. I was able to do the 7-star Charizard raids during its first drop, so that was exciting. And yeah, loving the game, having a good time. I'm kind of surprised I haven't put more than 100 hours into it already, honestly, but I think that's worth getting in the way. And also a small signal that I have prioritized the channel over Pokemon a little bit, and at least continuing to get content out instead of play the game. I'm looking forward to sharing 2023 with you all. I hope the rest of your year is magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.